The purpose of legal aid is to ensure the right to legal representation for socially and economically disadvantaged people. But is the system being abused in civil cases? In Part 2 of Legal Car-nage All Over a Banged-Up Benz, we seek answers to why an Auckland man has been able to fund his fight against a used car dealer using your taxpayer dollars. Thousands of taxpayer dollars have been spent in legal aid on a messy 2-year fight over a $15,000 used car deal, raising questions about where the line should be drawn on the state funding of civil cases. The Legal Services Agency has clear eligibility criteria in the case of civil matters with complaints to the Disputes Tribunal and the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal excluded from receiving legal aid, which is reserved for those who require legal representation but cannot afford it. One of the biggest recipients of legal aid funding in New Zealand is South Auckland law firm Denham Bramwell. Between July 1 last year and June 30 this year, Denham Bramwell, which specializes in commercial law, received close to $1 million in legal aid, which is significant given the bulk of legal aid funding goes towards criminal cases. The Manukau-based firm is currently facing questions over its role in a used car dispute involving well-known Auckland second-hand car dealer John Murphy and disgruntled customer Sanyachai Prersslip, who took Murphy to the Motor Vehicle Disputes Tribunal wanting a refund on a $15,000 Mercedes-Benz he purchased, which was found to have mechanical problems. Murphy had the vehicle repaired, but Prersslip was still not satisfied, claiming breaches of the Consumer Guarantees Act. It later turned out that Prersslip had driven the car into a curb, causing several $1,000s worth of damage, which under the law, according to Murphy, excluded the buyer from returning the vehicle. Prersslip played down the extent of the collision with the curb, submitting photographs to the tribunal he claimed showed minimal damage. The tribunal agreed and ordered that Murphy refund the Thai national his money. But now there are questions over the authenticity of those photographs, with Murphy providing expert testimony that the pictures were doctored and the tribunal was deliberately misled. Since then, Murphy has been in and out of court fighting the matter, and on Tuesday was before the High Court for a judicial review. It has cost him thousands in legal fees, while Prersslip has been fighting the matter on legal aid. So why is the taxpayer funding a case over a banged-up Benz? Denham Bramwell lawyer Anna Fuiava is representing Prersslip, and when contacted by telephone earlier in the week was reluctant to discuss the matter until completion of the judicial review. She also wanted to speak with her client, claiming the case was a private matter despite it being funded by taxpayer dollars. She then requested that questions be sent to her in writing and that she would respond. Anna, thank you for your time. Obviously we didn't get very far with our discussions yesterday about the multitude of issues relating to your client's purchase of the 2008 Mercedes-Benz from Mr. John Murphy. There was the hearing today, and the fact you also wanted to confer with your client about how he intended to respond to my questions. As you no doubt will appreciate, in order to present the facts of any case in a fair and balanced manner, there needs to be a degree of openness and transparency from all parties. This is an opportunity for people to hear your side and address some of the broader issues of this dispute. There are obviously conflicting accounts from your client and Mr. Murphy about the extent of the damages to the car following the parking incident. How does your client explain this? Firstly, does he stand by his story, and secondly, does he reject claims he digitally altered the photographs which were submitted to the tribunal as evidence? Now to the question of legal aid. I accept there is provision for legal aid to be paid in certain civil matters, but certainly not in disputes tribunal or motor vehicle disputes tribunal cases. How then does this case fall within the eligibility criteria you referred to in our telephone discussion yesterday in ISN dollar terms? How much exactly has legal services contributed to date? Do either you or your client see how this looks purely from an optics point of view? Legal aid being paid to someone who can afford to drive a luxury European motor vehicle.
She summed it up, continually repeated herself. Damage, it's not argued that there was damage. He lost his right to rejection. That's the fucking end of it.
Ready now.
HLC 92. So that's her car.
No. What's this place called?
High Court. Customs Street, isn't it?
High Court.
They're still backing out. There's red cars down there past the third tree. It's alright, I know where he is. I'm just waiting for him to drive past because he... And there he is, driving by.
Anna, I would be grateful if you could come back to me by tomorrow on this matter. Regards, Stephen Cook. Do either you or your client see how this looks purely from an optics point of view? Legal aid being paid to someone who can afford to drive a luxury European motor vehicle. She did not. Specifically, she refused to respond to questions about the conflicting accounts of damage to the vehicle from the collision with the curb and Murphy's claims the photographs had been digitally altered and the tribunal misled. She also would not discuss how the case fell within the eligibility criteria for legal aid, what she had been paid to date, or whether from an optics point of view there was an issue with legal aid being paid to someone who could afford a luxury European motor vehicle. Murphy says Fuava's silence speaks volumes. There are some serious issues here, and the fact she refuses to address them publicly makes you wonder, he said. The tribunal also has some explaining to do. They have a specialized assessor and should have looked at the car themselves rather than relying on the customer's photos. They have opened themselves up to questions about their integrity.